What's the biggest mistake foreigners make in relationships here in the Philippines?
They put up with tampo.
This is for the lightning round. Boots or online?
Online.
Single mother or single?
Single mother.
Under 30 or over?
Under.
Buy Filipina Land or never?
Maybe when married only.
Golf or cards? You can say both.
Cards.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Condo or house?
House.
Roosters or karaoke?
Karaoke.
Scooter or car? Taxi?
Car.
Waterfall or view resort?
Waterfall.
Panglao or Boracay?
Boracay.
Expat group or just a few buddies?
Just a few buddies.
1,500, 2,000, or $2,500 more for budget?
2,500 is a good sweet spot to be comfortable here.
Cebu City IT Park or Main Ayala Mall?
Cebu City IT Park.
Valencia or Dumaguete?
Valencia.
Wise, Remitly, Western Union, or Zoom?
Remitly.
Filipino Family less than an hour or more?
Slightly more.
Airbnb or hotel?
Airbnb.
13A visa or balikbayan visa?
Long-term 13A, short-term I'm going balikbayan.
Good answer. Eat street food, yes or no?
No. In Thailand, yes. In Thailand, yes. In the Philippines, no.
Well, okay. So
But I should say, if it's roasted, boiled, or peeled.
today, everyone, we're gonna have a Fly Me to the Philippines with a Big Brother edition. So everyone who aspired to be here in the Philippines and settle down here in the Philippines, it would be very nice if you got someone to talk, to ask as a Big Brother that is already experienced and already living here in the Philippines.
In a perfect world, would everybody have a big brother who made the journey several years before them? That big brother would have married a woman like you who could be there to back him up. So when his younger brother called and said, where should I stay? Which of these Airbnbs is best? Which beach is best? Where do I go to the mountains? This girl wrapped me around the axle. How do I handle it? He'd have a Filipina to help him help his younger brother. That's your role.
50 most asked questions about the Philippines.
I'm ready. But Chrissy, you're giving away all the goods. No one's going to do any consultation with me.
Well, good for you if you watch this video. Okay, so we should start now with
Yes.
general questions about the Philippines.
Okay, I'll do my best. Now, I'm married to a Filipina, and I've lived here almost 2 years. I've been here before, but this time, almost 2 years. I'll do my best, but you might know more. Go ahead. If you think I missed a question, write it in the comments.
Number 1.
Yes.
What's the best time of year to visit Philippines?
December and January, and Palawan, February.
I didn't know that. How many islands does the Philippines really have?
It's about 7,600 and change.
How safe is it for foreigners to visit?
I feel extremely safe. I think it's way safer here than cities like Detroit and downtown Los Angeles. Now, for me, I just don't go out at night and I don't stumble my way out of bars.
What's the one thing people always get wrong about the Philippines?
They think that there's no wealth here in the Philippines, and there's a real creamy, wealthy group of people. When you go to the mall, they got Louis Vuitton and Prada, and you can spend silly money just like in the West. So there are wealthy people here. Not much of a middle class, but there are entrepreneurial, wealthy people here.
Yeah. Do Filipinos speak good English?
Not as good as you think. That's almost the answer to the previous question. What did I get wrong?
How much does it cost to live comfortably in the Philippines?
I've said earlier, $2,500 a month, you can be very comfortable. You can live on $1,500.
You know what? I'll tell you a secret. If you're a Filipino, $800 a month is pretty good. How important is learning Tagalog or the local language?
I think if you want to know if they're talking about you when you're in the taxi or when the girls are together, it's kind of important. And it's really helpful to say please and thank you and things in the local language. And when I get into a taxi, I say Mayan Hapon, Mayan Buntag, and the taxi driver polite, and I say Kuya, and he no longer chats up my girl.
What's the biggest cultural difference the Westerners should prepare for in the Philippines?
You don't want to make them lose face. So we're kind of familiar with that. But the way it plays out is they don't really like feedback. And when they receive feedback, they get very, very defensive and even aggressive.
I think Filipinos are mostly more passive than direct. Okay, how do you think, based on your experience, how do you think locals view foreigners?
Very positively. I think they're envious of our Western culture. They love American, Canadian culture, European culture. It's a very welcoming, and they're so friendly.
What's the most common scam foreigners fall for?
Well, they run into women online, I think, that are requesting money, sob story, short con, long con. We've talked about that on lots of our videos. So many men fall prey to the small money scam, $200. They just, before they figure it out, they share the gold. They break the golden rule. Yeah,
and just recently we launched a video about the scams that you should be aware in the Philippines and the boundaries that you should put on yourself.
Yeah, and the video that I really am proudest of from last year is where there's these 12 steps in the obstacle course, sort of like 12 levels in a video game. And this one right here, if you were to watch only one video, that would kind of give you a frame and a mindset. Oh, if you only watch one of our videos from last year, I would watch that one. You could also watch How to Meet a Filipina. I think that one, I go into real granular detail about how to do it without, getting scammed and things like that.
Let's proceed to the next category. Philippines travel.
Okay.
Philippine travel.
Yes.
What's the best city to live in for expats?
I think Davao is, for a larger city, Davao might be clean and safe and well organized, and it's very far south. The women are pretty the further south you go, I think.
How reliable is public transportation in the Philippines?
I think it's super reliable. There's a jeepney, you can walk 300 meters to the big road, and there's a jeepney comes by every 10 minutes, and there's trikes everywhere that are really inexpensive. And there's here in our town, we have taxis.
In your own opinion, what is the top tourist destination in the country?
I think it's a tie between El Nido and Boracay.
And for small island, Camiguin and Siquijor.
For small islands that aren't overrun with tourists, Camiguin Island and Siquijor, and we just went there in the last 2 months and made videos,
Yeah. How much should you budget for traveling within the Philippines?
I think like $75 a day you can get it done. So you can get a hostel for $17. You can get a 3-star.
With or without girlfriend?
Yeah, Filipino girlfriends are really easy, and they don't expect you to spend a lot of money. So with or without excursions might be the better question. So if you rented a motor scooter and you stayed at a 3-star hotel with Wi-Fi and a pool, you're in at about $35. Your meals for the day are like $15. If you go to the grocery store, maybe less. And so you're at $50. You want to do an excursion, you might pay $20 per person, so that's $40. So $90 on the days where you're taking excursions, $50 on the days where you're not, where you're just going to Jollibee's and going to the mall and walking around. So overall, I think under $75 a day, you can tour the Philippines. If you have a $3,000 budget for the month, you might be able to squeeze your airfare into that budget too.
Oh, good. Are there hidden gems that tourists often miss in the Philippines?
I think we're adjacent to, like right behind us. These are the Bukidnon Mountains. And like we can be at a cold spring in 30 minutes. We could be up at Communal Ranch, which we've shown before. It's just insane. And there are waterfalls and all around. One of the things, Cagayan de Oro is famous for whitewater rafting. So there are hidden gems. And most people only go to these major tourist spots like El Nido and Boracay, which are full of like tourists from South Korea and higher prices and higher price resorts and hotels. So you can get like half the price of Hawaii and be at a 5-star resort like we were on Siquijor. But if you just stay here in Uptown CDO and rent a car, boom, 30 minutes, you are at a waterfall, you are at a cold spring, you are in the type of beauty and cooler temperatures. Those are the hidden gems, I think.
I think when people said that in the Philippines there are a lot of hidden golds, I think it's not a literal golds, but it's the Filipino wonders and the people.
There's some gold up there too. If the Japanese buried it, I think they're all looking for it. Yamamoto's.
Maybe we already found it.
Well, you're the gold. This is the type of gold you mine in the Philippines right here.
Okay. What's the deal with jeepneys and should foreigners use them?
You know, we had an incident where somebody tried to steal a friend of ours' phone on the jeepney, but she was a little mentally ill, I think. But I always feel safe here. But they spew black smoke, and it's like air. You really should wear a mask if you're on a jeepney. And they squeeze people. It's really kind of fun. It's cheap, reliable. You're the biggest vehicle on the road, so you're pretty safe.
So how safe is it to drive in the Philippines?
Driving in the Philippines is crazy, yet all my friends have SUVs or cars, and they all drive, and some of their wives drive. And I've rented cars, and I've been to Central Mindanao by car. But you need your head on a swivel. People pull up on your right-hand side. When you're about to make a right-hand turn, there's going to be a motorcycle there. But if you can get these cameras now, then the rear-view mirror that show behind you and alongside you, the nicer cars that can show a side view. Turn on your blinker, you see a side view. And at night, it's really stupid. People think they're saving money by turning off their headlights or their motorcycle lights, and then people walk drunk on the road. And the thing that's kind of hard to get used to is, in America, it's your job as the driver not to hit anybody. Here, people feel like it's their responsibility not to get hit. So they'll stand right in the middle of the road on the divided line with like a foot on each side. They're sure they can get out of your way, but they don't care whether you can't see them because they can see you. It's very dangerous at night. I prefer not to. Most of my friends prefer not to drive at night. And if you rent a car, be careful. They put this heavy tinted front windshield tint on. And if you go out at night, you cannot see, especially if you're 60 years old or something.
What's the best mode of transportation in rural areas?
I think you need a car. But so anywhere in the Philippines, if you have a motorcycle, you are golden. You get freedom. It's very low cost. You can beat the traffic. So if you're into driving a motorcycle and dealing with the roosters and the dogs and the loose gravel and nobody having their lights on, that's the cheapest and most freedom. You're off anywhere you go.
Now, this is one of the most asked questions.
Yes.
Are there any travel restrictions that the foreigner should know about?
The U.S. government puts out tourist advisories, and Mindanao in particular has a red zone and a yellow zone. Now, the U.S. government lowered recently for Davao and Butuan on Mindanao, and we're in northern Mindanao, so we're in the yellow zone. The Japanese government, December 14th, lowered Davao to level 1, which is the lowest level. So there are areas where you probably don't want to go at night and you don't want to get broken down in the middle of nowhere in parts of the Philippines. Anywhere up in the mountains, you could have problems. But, we interviewed Danny. He's lived here 22 years, 17 years in Mindanao. We interviewed lots of people who've been here. We have friends at Cards. They've been here 12 years, 15 years. Nobody has ever really run into much trouble. Now, we don't go into far southern Mindanao near Zamboanga.
How accessible is the internet in remote areas?
Well, nowadays we have Starlink, and then all the sari stores have like Wi-Fi.
Vendo machines.
Yeah, these boxes. So when the Filipina says she can't video chat, how much for 20 pesos? What do you get, 3 hours maybe, or a day?
I think it's 1 hour and 30 minutes for 10 pesos.
So you get 3 hours of Wi-Fi. Unlimited Wi-Fi.
That's what I use when I'm at.
Yeah, and it's unlimited, so you can video chat for 3 hours. Maybe that's why they don't want to get off the phone, because they got free internet.
Yeah.
So it's not much money, and you don't have to send them very much money at all for them to video chat. Yeah.
The next category will be the most exciting part because it is about dating in the Philippines.
Here we go.
Is online dating in the Philippines legit or sketchy?
It's sketchy, and you should have your shields up, and you should use a high dose of caution, and you should watch some of our videos and really the first and biggest mistake make is, men should not put a wealthy man image in their avatar, their profile images, be careful of their photos, and they should not really reply. Their incoming traffic is such a high percentage of fake profiles and scammers. My recommendation, which has evolved over time, is just avoid everyone who writes to you. You might throw a few babies out with the bathwater, but yeah, totally sketchy.
So how big of an age gap is acceptable in Filipino culture?
I think
37.
We're 37 years and we don't get any stares. We get no stares. And I always tell people, if you're 69 or younger, you should look for 27 to 33. But if you hit 70, I think you need to go 35 to 45 to 50, 35 to 50.
Are Filipinas really as family-oriented as people say?
Totally family-oriented. And Filipinas are motivated by their status in their core group. That's why the winner culture kind of rules here. Once they do well, they feel obligated to help everybody.
What are some major red flags on online dating with Filipinas?
Anybody who won't video chat you, anybody who needs more than 48 hours or 24 hours to video chat, anybody who asks for money or hints strongly at money, anybody who has an emergency and needs money, anybody who lies about anything, block them and move on. Start the game over.
Red flags. Should foreigners meet a Filipina's family right away?
I don't think you should meet her family for the first 3 days or first week. I think you should meet her in the nearest big city that's safe to travel to, or fly her to Manila or Cebu. You should have a little dating, intense 3 days, 4 days, get to know each other dating period, see if the physicality is there. See if she shows a tampo or jealousy in the short term. If she can't keep it together for 72 hours, you probably don't want to run off and meet the parents and have the whole promise ceremony. So, no, I think you should wait at least 3 days.
You know, there's a saying here in the Philippines that before you put all your chips all in, make sure she had a hole.
A hole? What does that mean?
I don't know.
I think it's really, make sure it's a woman.
Maybe that's
It's
it.
the ladyboy alert.
How does religion factor into dating a Filipino?
You know, I think if you tell a woman you're an atheist, she's not going to want to have much of anything to do with you. But if you tell a Filipina you don't really want to be going to church, you don't want to spend your time at church, I think she'll be fine with that.
What's the best way to make a good first impression?
Well, I think, if you're clean-shaven, Filipinas tend to like a clean-shaven man. If you dress a little bit more formally, if you wear a collared shirt, if you wear long pants, show up with a 50-pound bag of rice. You can't go wrong.
Okay. Are long-distance relationships with Filipinas worth it?
I think they're worth it, but I think you need to get yourself here quickly.
How can you tell that the Filipina is really genuinely interested in you?
If you don't lead with your money and you don't share with her really how much money you have and what you're willing to do, and you roll it out very slowly, very slowly. We've known each other almost 2 years. Have you ever bought a dress at a mall?
No.
Never.
So we will proceed now to the most serious one.
Serious.
Relationships and marriage.
Okay.
How important is it to get a Filipino family's blessing?
It's critically important. And I always say this, if a girl says, hey, I'll meet you in Makati, and after Makati, let's go to Baguio, and then let's go to El Nido, and forget about the family. I don't get along with the family, and they don't, I'm a free spirit. That's probably not the Filipina. If you want an old school girlfriend, and you want that syrupy, sweet, father knows best Jane Wyatt kind of wife, that's a woman who's going to have to take you within 3 days or a week for her family's blessing. And I would never want to proceed with a Filipina without her family's blessing. You want to make people angry.
Yeah. What's the divorce situation in the Philippines?
So just September 21st of last year, the Supreme Court ruled, it's not legislation, but the Supreme Court ruled that if a foreign man goes back to his home country and gets a divorce, the Filipino woman can get that documentation, and the Philippine government now must recognize that divorce, and she'll get a Senemar after she gets the documentation. That's brand new. That's just so. If some of you may have heard of another vlogger in Dumaguete who's said NAIA can become divorced. Well, that's really very, very new. Other than that, you have to get an annulment, which costs about $5,000 US, and it can go as fast as a year, or it can take 3 or 4 years, depending on the ex-husband, the lawyer, and how much money he wants.
Is it true that you can't own property here in the Philippines as a foreigner?
If you open an LLC with other Filipinos, you could own 40% of the LLC's assets. The LLC could own land. You could lend money to a Filipina and have her use that money to buy land. But if it's your wife, it's not going to work. But yeah, you cannot own land. And a lot of people, they feel like that's very draconian. They don't want to get involved with it. And they just are 100% against owning land. Yeah.
What's the best way to plan a wedding in the Philippines?
That's a great question. I mean, we just went through it. You can get... we had a rehearsal dinner at Cuesta Roquia, our favorite restaurant in CDO, and for like $350, we had a really nice reception for like 18 people.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, dang, we could have just gotten away with that, because they put flowers on the white tablecloths and with a beautiful overlooking view. and a guitarist. It was spectacular. You could have a very small wedding and just do it that way. We went to Ultra Winds Resort up on the mountaintop here, and we had about 100 people.
Do Filipinos expect their partners to support their family financially?
I think they expect to support their family. So if you give your Filipina a stipend or an allowance and let her do whatever she wants with it, she'll spend most of it on her family and not herself. She'll go to the thrift store for clothing and send her family money for church and money for meals and money for rice and medicine. And if you just don't want your Filipina to support her family at all, that's a no-win. That's not going to work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the next question is for me.
Oh, really?
How do Filipinas feel about prenuptial agreements?
I think like any woman, they don't like it. But Filipinos are very pliable and they're old school, and I think they'll go along with it.
What's the biggest mistake foreigners make in relationships here in the Philippines?
They put up with tampo. In Asia, women are passive-aggressive, and sometimes they go a day or two without talking to you, and it's like a power thing. So they get angry at you, and they won't tell you why, and really, really bad tampo. It's a miserable situation, and I don't think any man should ever. So they need to figure that out first, and don't get involved with a woman with bad tampo.
Mm-hmm. Do I have tampo?
They're mild.
Mild. How many days?
A half hour.
Is jealousy a common trait in Filipino?
The Filipinos are the most sensitive creatures on the planet. They care more about their status in their primary group than anything in the world. So when you get in a relationship with them, you become their primary core group. And any wrinkle, any difficulty, any stink eye, they can't handle it, and they're way more jealous than average. Yeah,
they're alert.
Yeah.
How do Filipinas typically handle conflict in a relationship?
Well, I think Filipinas, many of them show tampo and withdraw. Many deal with their jealousy poorly. Found you to be a good learner and growing as a person. And I talked to you about good communication, no exaggeration, no minimization, no black and white talking. And you've come along and you're a really great communicator.
What's the role of traditional gender roles in Filipino marriages?
Men turn their paychecks over to their wives traditionally, and they work 6 days a week. But then a lot of them, can get involved in bad habits, and I don't know where they get the money because they give the paycheck to the wife.
Next category is about food and culture. Okay. What's the one Filipino dish everyone should try?
Lechon, roast pig.
How spicy is Filipino food?
I really don't eat a lot of Filipino. I love spicy food, but compared to Thai food, like zero.
What's the most unusual Filipino food foreigners might find strange?
Well, you got that duck egg, that balut that you eat 17, 18, and 19-day duck egg. You can see the feathers of the duck when you eat it.
Is street food safe for foreigners?
I personally eat no street food in the Philippines. Refrigeration is a thing that their stomachs can handle.
What's the etiquette for eating with a Filipino family?
Never finish the last thing on the plate.
Why is karaoke such a big deal in the Philippines?
It's such a social thing. I don't know what happened when they were handing out good voices, but the Filipinos got the lion's share. I'm just crazy. If you have three Filipinos together, one of them can sing, always.
Mm-hmm. How do Filipinos celebrate holidays differently?
Well, they buy a lechon. They cook a lot of foods that we used to make in America, like heated tunas and mayonnaise, mixed fruit stuff, and things that you'll remember from your childhood. But they just like to hang out and stay up late with family, I think.
Yeah, the highlight is that any holiday is like a family reunion.
Family chit-chat till 3 a.m. Yeah.
Okay. What's the best way to show respect in Filipino culture?
Patience would be the best way to show respect, because we're in such a rush and the service here is not so good. And when they ask you to wait, or if you're driving or whatever, if you just chill out and allow them to do it their way, it's their country, don't complain. That's the best way.
Mm-hmm. Are there any cultural taboos foreigners should know about?
Never touch a child on top of their head or anybody on top of their head.
One thing I should add is talking about sex with other people. Yeah, it's very taboo topic.
Okay.
Why do Filipinos smile so much, even though in a tough situations?
You know, that's a great question. They smile like crazy. They're super friendly, but they don't always, they can, when you push on a Filipino and you tell him his dog is barking, or you tell him you didn't get the product you paid for, you want your refund, things don't just go smoothly. They don't go smoothly. So, but they're smiling, and the way they handle things is to just tiptoe through the problem and tell other people they have a problem and let the word circle back, kind of. Yeah.
Am I smiling?
You smiling. Is that all?
Yeah, that's
Hey,
it.
we're going to show you some more of those fireworks. Thanks for being here with us. If you need a big brother in the Philippines, just send me an email.
And comment down below what's your thought about this topic.
What's holding you back in 2025 from taking the step that you know can change your life for the better? Till next time.
Only here from Fly Me to the Philippines. See you on our next video.